Welcome back to the John and Linetia Show.
And our top story for today is surrogate mother flees halfway across U.S. to save baby from intended parents.
Ooh, those intended parents.
You know,
they're evil.
This story just disturbed me so, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen it or haven't seen it. It's kind of disturbing because not only do we have a contract, but we also have moral issues here.
Well, do you want to explain the story for those listening to the podcast that haven't seen the story?
Yes, I will. There was this nice young lady who offered to be a surrogate mother.
I don't know how nice she was, but okay.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to say she's nice, you know.
She was 30 years old, mother of 2 girls already.
Thanks. She still is nice. And she offered to be a surrogate mother. The parents have been unnamed. We don't know who the parents are. Mm-hmm. Okay, but her name is Crystal Kelly. And usually when you have some type of, when you do a surrogate, you can get up to $20,000. I had no idea that was happening.
Well, you got to get your expenses paid for, and basically it's kind of like they pay you a little more extra for your time.
Yeah, that 9 months that you have to go through. I completely understand that. Mm-hmm. So her pregnancy was going fine until around 21 weeks. They did an anatomy scan. Mm-hmm. And the doctors found out that there were some things going on with the baby.
Right.
Okay. They said that the baby was going to be born with a cleft, and that the baby was going to have heart problems, and that it looked like it was did they say a tumor on the brain? I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a tumor on the brain. So the parents said, and you got the call from the doctor too, and they frantically said, you know what, we want to abort this child. Mm-hmm. So the surrogate mother said, no, I do not want to do that. Mm-hmm. The parents pushed again. Look, we'll even pay you $10,000 to abort the child. So now we know that these people have a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. And she still said no. She thought about it at first because she was going to abort the child for $15,000. And then she said, no, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and have the child. Mm-hmm. Okay?
But as a surrogate, she doesn't have much legal standing.
In her state.
Which
was Connecticut.
And they basically had a contract with the intended parents. So this was an embryo, a frozen embryo, that was actually the man's,
the man's sperm,
stuff,
but another
egg.
Another egg.
Right.
Still.
So they were in Connecticut, and she said no.
She said no, right? So she went ahead. She actually, what happened is she flew to another state to try to get some help for what was going on with her.
In a state where she would have a little more legal rights. So she went to Michigan.
She went to Michigan, and she went to another hospital while she was there to get some help with the child.
Right.
Anyway, the child was born just as they said, with all these issues.
Yeah.
The thing with this also is that she flew to Michigan for rights, but she ended up giving the baby up for adoption anyway.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing as I'm kind of going through the story because what she said essentially was that in Connecticut, that the surrogate mother has no parental rights, and after the baby would be born, the baby would be placed in foster care, and her feeling was that's not an option, that she wanted to have the parental rights. And she goes to Michigan and immediately gives the baby up for adoption and gives off the parental rights.
Right.
It's kind of a little fishy because, she kind of made it, ultimately there's a couple of things at play here, because on the one hand, she basically had a contract, to be a surrogate with this family.
Contract.
And kind of, in a way, broke certain rules. Now, granted, it wasn't like the baby was fine and she didn't want to give it up, but, whatever. But she made it seem part of the contract was if there were some kind of big time genetic issues with the baby, that abortion was a possibility.
Yes.
So it was written in the contract already. Her feeling was that this baby that had all this. Now, granted, the baby was born. And it says here there's going to be a number of risky cardiac procedures.
Yes.
Surgery for a cleft palate. Mm-hmm. And I guess what the baby has is a thing with the brain where the brain doesn't divide into two hemispheres.
Right.
It doesn't have Down syndrome, but it still sounds like it has brain issues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This baby might not survive.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Quite honestly, based on the contract, that's pretty much a reason to abort. Mm-hmm. She basically, her thing was like, oh, they don't want to have a perfect baby. Wait a minute, you almost can't get too much more imperfect here. So ultimately, she just kind of defied, the rules of everything and fled and had the baby and gave up the baby. Didn't really care about taking care of the baby. Ultimately is pushing it on somebody else to spend all the money and take care of the baby and all of that. Right.
This is my issue with this. And I'm a spiritual person, John. I don't believe I believe in, the commandments of do not kill and that kind of thing. But here's my thing. This was not her choice. This was not her choice. This was the parents' choice. She was not the mother of this child. She was just carrying the child.
She was the vessel.
She was the vessel. She was carrying the child for someone else.
Yeah.
And this someone else decided that they wanted to abort. And you went into a contract with them. Really, to me, it seemed like you just wanted the money out of it because she was getting paid $2,200 a month.
Yeah, but I'm sure they stopped paying her when she fled.
I'm sure they did, but she still got like 5 months.
Yeah, but even if they aborted, she still would have kept the money.
That's fine. Because it was their choice.
Yeah.
That's fine. But you are not the mother of this child.
Yeah, but she was carrying it inside of her.
But she's still not the mother. She was just the vessel that was being used to carry somebody else's child.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's kind of weird about this was that the fact that the embryo was half the father and half somebody else.
Well, it's not. It's unusual, but it's not weird. Yeah, it's.
But it's like, why wasn't the mother's
donor egg? Yeah, she was probably barren. She was probably,
Do you think maybe they were up there in age? Maybe a little bit older?
Oh, likely, yeah.
Okay, but they have money.
But they have money because they can have embryos frozen. Not everybody, can afford all that. The freezing fees and all that. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, and was going to pay money to her to abort the baby.
Right. I just don't think this was her call.
Well, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't her call.
It shouldn't have been her call. Quite, she entered into an agreement, and whether you want to call it, it's a legal contract, but it also you could say is a moral agreement. She agreed basically to do this for this couple, and part of the agreement also was the possibility that if something was wrong with the child, that that they would basically not bring in a baby that's suffering.
Right.
You can say what you want about whether you're pro or anti-abortion. Ultimately, the thing here is that the woman agreed to all of these terms.
Right.
And then in the end, reneged.
And if you have a problem with abortion, why did you become a surrogate mom?
Yeah, ultimately she should have not done it. Yeah.
This is a problem. You basically just did this for the money.
Well, she did. She definitely, and part of it, she blogged about it. She's trying to, try to keep a high ground here, but even again, that she realized that she can use the fee to be a surrogate to, help, her income, with the kids too.
And she said the adoptive parents who remain anonymous says they're wonderful, fabulous people. And she wrote that she knows that they understand the unique bond that baby S and she share, and that she is happy that she kept 2 promises to the child she carried. I will always be there for you, and I will never give up on you. You did.
I know. She's not always gonna. She's not always gonna be there for the baby if you give it up for adoption.
And also, you can't afford it because you were getting paid monthly to be a surrogate parent.
Yeah, it's disingenuous, the whole thing, because she's not going to be part of that baby's life. Although I bet you ultimately she just figures that the baby's not going to live long anyway. You know, it's probably her. You know, instead of abortion, we'll just let it die and suffer, and you know.
That was really sad.
Yeah, it's you know what?
That's just really sad.
My point about that really is you know, if you agree to something, do it, follow through, and she didn't. So
don't be a surrogate mom if your feelings are going to get involved.
Yeah,
there's always going to be some type of bond between a mother and child. If you're carrying a child, of course, there's going to be a bond there. Yeah, of course. If you have these strong feelings regarding these sort of things, don't get involved. Don't do it.
I agree.
This is just really sad, but you know, I just think this was just wrong. You know, probably on both parties. Actually, it was just, I don't know. Maybe sometimes also people should probably, and I know that had already been done. Sometimes you need to get like what do you call it? People get like psychiatry tests and that kind of thing. You know, I mean, people do this. You know, to make sure that this person has, you know, the mind to be able to deal with something like this.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know with people.
You never know. I think it was just really sad. Hey, you know, so the parents are suing her.
Oh, they are?
The parents are suing her. Yeah, the parents are suing her. Well,
there you go.
So sad. So very sad. Thanks for listening to the John and Linetia Show.